Welcome to the Canadian Beef Cattle Podcast, presented by the Beef Cattle Research Council, the most popular content from beefresearch.ca, available on the go. Before we get into this week's episode, a quick message from the BCRC. The Beef Cattle Research Council hosts a webinar series each year covering topics of importance to Canadian beef producers. These webinars are available free of charge thanks to guest speakers who volunteer their time and expertise to support advancements in the Canadian beef industry and through the Knowledge Dissemination and Technology Transfer Project, funded by the Canadian Beef Cattle Checkoff and Canada's Beef Science Cluster. You can register for the latest webinar series or watch past webinar recordings by clicking the link in the show notes. This episode is titled Genetic IQ, Defining Traits That Matter in Your Beef Herd.
Hi, I'm Kristen Thompson with the Beef Cattle Research Council. In beef production, genetics plays a critical role in management and profitability. However, knowing whether you're on the right track can be a challenge. Compared to other livestock species, beef cattle have a long gestation period, and those 283 days, plus the period from birth to weaning or beyond, can seem like a long time to find out if a particular genetic combination is a winner or a bust. Some common questions are, what tools and technologies exist that can help producers optimize their genetic selection? What traits are more economically relevant than others? How can genetic selection tools be useful for marketing? Many purebred or seed stock producers use data collection along with DNA testing to generate expected progeny differences, or EPDs, to help their customers make decisions. Commercial producers may take advantage of the benefits of crossbreeding, also known as heterosis, using two or more breeds. They may choose to keep track of which breed combinations work best to help them achieve their goals. In order to use genetic data as a decision-making tool, you need to start with some form of on-farm record keeping. The BCRC has a suite of free genetic record-keeping resources available for producers at a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level. In the BCRC webinar, Keeping Production Data to Improve the Supply Chain, Betty Jo Allman from Ag Sites says data has value in both a broad context and on an individual basis. You may be operating on a herd level, but when you can identify those animals that do a good job, or those silently strong animals, or the ones that are not doing great for you, and call those, you can see some pretty quick advancements in your profitability, she says. Her company works with producers to analyze data and make on-farm production decisions. Genetic selection is impacted by a lot of different things, and a lot of different traits are important to different producers, explains Sandy Russell, the Chief Executive Officer of the Canadian Beef Breeds Council, or CBBC. The CBBC connects Canada's purebred breeders and genetic industry around the world. While commercial and purebred herds may gather and manage their own unique data, most large-scale genetic information is collected and maintained by individual breed associations. Russell acknowledges that keeping this valuable information in silos has made using this data a challenge for commercial producers looking for broader information to make breeding or feeding decisions. To address this, the CBBC embarked on an initiative called the Canadian Beef Improvement Network, or CBIN, which helps us standardize information across breeds. Almond and her team at Ag Sites developed an across-breed selection tool as a pilot project for CBIN. We've created a dashboard in collaboration with the breed associations so that we can start to pull in purebred information, but also commercial information, and connect the data and try to demonstrate the value of having a resource where you can find that superior genetics to incorporate into your breeding program, she says. Part of the dashboard is providing some visuals so you know the strength of the bulls you are reviewing, says Almond, who adds that the project is evolving to include a stronger focus on commercial component across all levels of beef production. Russell explains that having a unified approach to genetic advancement will help highlight information in a way that producers can use to inform their decision-making. She adds that it's not about identifying the perfect cow, but about helping producers make decisions using sound data. Beef producer Marlon LeBlanc says the concept of building a bi-directional pipeline of genetic information that goes up the chain and back down is key. LeBlanc had a long, successful career as a purebred breeder with R+ Simmentals and recently switched gears to run yearlings following his herd dispersal in the winter of 2022. He has seen a lot of different aspects of the business and is co-vice chair of the CBBC and a proponent of CBIN and what it might mean for the industry. I bought feeder cattle for years too, and you had 5 to 10 seconds to decide what that calf will yield when it hits 1,500 pounds, and decide what you can pay for it, LeBlanc says. Now, if we can prove those cattle are right, the whole system changes. LeBlanc adds that cattle are getting marketed differently now too, and tracking prior owners of feeder cattle is something a lot of lots are already doing. Sourcing cattle that yield, that feed from feed-efficient herds, feedlots like that data too. We just need someone out there to make that connection to share that data. He believes the purebred industry has an important role to play, and getting a seat at the same table as stakeholders at the other end of the supply chain is highly valuable. The big players realize that genetics are important, LeBlanc explains. This is an opportunity if they're willing to share that information, which will allow us to breed better cattle and help them get what they want. Finding out what might not be working is also valuable. The thing we might have to realize is that sometimes the cattle we believe are right just aren't, LeBlanc says. There's always a risk with information, but if you're using a bull that doesn't meet some of these criteria, you aren't helping your commercial customer. We've all used the wrong bull before, and the best thing you can do is move on to something else. I think CBIN will move the needle, he adds. When you start working with feedlots and packing plants, that's real data. When you know what these cattle did, you can make them better and make the customer better. Sandy Russell says that through CBIN, breeders and associations will maintain control of their own data. For individual producers, if you want to share data, that's your choice, she says. But this will make it easier for breeders to do so if they choose. She goes on to add, each individual commercial producer has a goal that is unique and evolves over time. And if we can inform these goals and help them achieve results, that is what this is all about.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can find all relevant links and information at beefresearch.ca or in the show notes. The Beef Cattle Research Council is funded by the Canadian Beef Cattle Checkoff and strives for excellence in the production of Canadian beef, cattle, and forage through research, innovation, and extension. Tune in every Tuesday as the Canadian Beef Cattle Podcast delivers straightforward insights, expert information, and a wealth of practical knowledge for Canadian beef producers. Subscribe now.